G'day there guys, I haven't read the news since 2015, but I probably really haven't missed much, have I? This is Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love today's content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, chuck a like on the video, and tell me what you think about it down in the comments. Posted by user GXTCH. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother's fiancé that I don't want their wedding to be on the day that my twin passed away? Alrighty, this is going to be rather long. My brother, 22 male, and his fiancée, 21 female, were looking at wedding venues yesterday, and his fiancée had decided on the first one that they saw. She wants their wedding to occur in September, 2021 of course, because that's the month of their anniversary. The only problem was that the only day that the venue was available in September would be the day that my twin brother passed away. For a little context, we were born prematurely and had a lot of medical complications. After fighting for his life for a few months, my twin brother sadly lost his life. Yesterday, after they'd paid a down payment on the venue, my brother realized the significance of that day, and him and his fiancée talked to my mum. Fast forward a little deeper into the day, his fiancée texts me out of nowhere and asks me if I'd be on board with the idea of them holding the wedding on the day of my twin's passing. I responded, stating that I could not support it, nor approve of them doing so. She replied, claiming that she would bring my brother's urn to the wedding and make him an honorary groomsman, as well as the fact that she claimed my mother was okay with it. 2 hours after our conversation, and after taking my response into consideration, she posts on Facebook that the venue nor the day of the wedding will change, i.e., confirming that they hadn't changed their minds. I don't mean to use such vulgar language, but I think her actions were completely screwed up. I feel as though she could pick a million other venues that are available on any other day in September. I feel like crap because I think that the least I can do to honor my twin is to let him have his day. Am I selfish for feeling this way? My mum has been kinda giving me crap about how I feel, though my dad and other siblings feel as though I'm justified. I don't honestly think that OP is in the right here. I feel like that was such a long time ago, you didn't even get to know your twin brother. It's okay to be hurt, but are we never allowed to have any significant events on the day that your twin passed? That kind of seems unfair. I don't feel like you get to grieve for this long a time for someone that you never actually met. This is a huge stretch, OP, and I feel like you're way overemphasizing the importance of this death. Yes, it's still significant, but I'm surprised it's still engulfing you this much, that you would stop someone's wedding on that day? That's just silly. This is too much to ask for, OP. You're the a-hole. Sorry for mixing metaphors, but you were really milking the victim card hard. You never even knew your twin. You were not mourning him, you were mourning for an idea. What a morbid excuse to make everything about you. You're the a-hole, but my answer would change if you were your mother, who actually has memories of your twin and watched her baby die. I didn't know a nice way to put this, but I agree with you. The baby between my oldest brother and my oldest sister passed away after 4 months. My oldest brother kind of remembers her, but he's not sure if it's an actual memory or stories my mother told for so long. He was really little. My mother was really destroyed by it for a long time. I understand why she is, but she still sometimes gets upset that none of us kids consider Annabelle a sibling. We usually say, oh, there's X number of girls and X number of guys, and Annabelle just never gets put into that. My mum used to correct us, and as much as I feel for her loss, it's not my loss. I was born almost 15 years after Annabelle passed. And it's hard for my mother because she still feels like she has X number of children, not X minus 1 child. And my dad is pretty used to death at this point, due to his job. And while he is supportive, he has told my mother before that he's made peace with Annabelle's passing. He believes there's a heaven, and he doesn't feel the need to constantly mention someone who has passed and live his life in pain. It's like saying you can't have a wedding because Abraham Lincoln died on that day. 2 people who have never met this person. If you say someone passed away as a baby, you don't get to claim you were such close siblings if you were the exact same age, and that you would not have any memories of that baby. Isn't it interesting how we, in developed countries, nowadays see death as something rare, which happens mostly to old people? Not long ago, parents had 5 or more kids and hoped that at least 2 of them would survive to adulthood. Do you think they put everything on hold each year on the day that their kids died? My then 18-year-old brother died from an accident when I was 12 years old. I don't even remember the date on which he died because that doesn't matter. I do visit his grave on his birthday, however. Keep the good memories and don't ruin your and everyone else's life every year. That's definitely not what the person that died wanted you to feel and do. You're the a-hole. As much as it hurts to lose someone, holding that date sacred beyond a certain time frame shifts from respectful to maudlin. It has been 16 years since your twin died, and the compromise offered by the bride was more than fair. If anyone has the right to object, it would be the mum or dad who lost a child, especially mum who'd carried and birthed the child. That's a far more real death than a twin you never knew. The fact that the parents are okay and even giving OP grief is a bit telling. Posted by user throwaway765439, titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law to stop trying to see my son as hers?" My sister-in-law, 25 female, lost her baby boy when she was 7 months pregnant with him 4 months ago. She made plans, bought him clothes, and prepared his nursery. Even bought a few packs of diapers and bottles because, due to some health issues she's been having, she decided to go with formula. It was absolutely devastating, especially for my brother because he was looking forward to becoming a dad. I gave birth to my baby boy a month ago, and while I was pregnant, my sister-in-law came to see me, and she said she didn't know what to do with all the baby stuff she bought, so she decided to donate them to me since my husband is currently on deployment and is away from home. I was so happy and thanked them for their generosity. Then, while I was staying at my parents' house, my sister-in-law started bringing in stuff she bought after my baby was born, and said that it'd match the shoes or something like that. She also brought in the formula, even though I was breastfeeding and didn't even need that. She said the formula was for when she feeds my baby, and asked if it was okay. She and my brother would change the diapers and dress my baby in the clothes that they'd bought and do mix and match, and how they would have dressed their deceased baby the same way. I started noticing. I got upset, I'm not gonna lie. Especially when my husband video chats and sees his son dressed in clothes that they picked. She's always holding him, and would take him out of his nursery without telling me. She sometimes sleeps in our nursery, saying that the baby might need something. It went as far as refusing him to call him by his name, and give him a nickname that she was planning on giving her son, like Chico. I finally snapped when she and my brother wanted to take him for a sleepover at their house. I yelled at my sister-in-law after she kept insisting, and told her to stop trying to take my baby from me and treat him like her son. My brother lashed out at me and called me ungrateful while she was crying, telling him they needed to leave. My mum watched it all and sided with my brother, who said that I should pay for everything that they gave me and that they didn't want to take the stuff back for my baby's sake. We haven't talked after the argument. My mum keeps talking to my sister-in-law, and I could hear her cry on speaker. I felt guilty, but all I wanted was to bond with my baby, and she was there all the time. I genuinely don't think, from the way that you've put it across, that you can be blamed for any of this behavior from them, OP. You facilitated them, which was perhaps a mistake, because they kept trying to cross the line ever so slightly with their behavior to compensate for the loss of their own baby. It's genuinely heart-wrenching, and it's a very sad situation, but you cannot just put someone else's child in place of your own lost child. It's not fair on the baby, it's not fair on the parents, and it's not fair on yourself. OP, I can't blame you for laying down the law. Who the hell would let your own baby have a sleepover with your brother and sister-in-law? That's just ridiculous. I don't know what planet they're living on to think that that's a normal thing to do. That's bordering on call Child Protective Services. She's abandoned her baby. Not the a-hole. But your sister-in-law is grieving and needs to see a therapist. Pretending your son is her baby is not helping her heal or get help, because in her mind, she already has a baby. Not the a-hole, but keep an eye. Give them everything back and get out as fast as you can. Honestly, reading through the way OP describes her sister-in-law interacting with the baby, I just keep thinking, what if she decides it's her baby and tries to take him? She doesn't sound well mentally and could get worse. Exactly what I was thinking, as most people during grief don't really think like they usually do, and the fact that she can just pop by the nursery, take the kid and dip to an unavailable location, aka kidnap the kid, may be a small chance, but a chance nonetheless. I mean, it sounds like it's absolutely not a small chance, and statistically, most kidnappings happen by close friends and family, not strangers. I would absolutely be worried she would kidnap that baby. The sister-in-law isn't grieving, which is the problem. She's found a way to put her grief on pause, like parents who keep their kids' room as a shrine. She definitely needs help, and OP needs to keep very clear boundaries in place. No more gifts, no more clothes, no more nicknames. If they won't take the stuff back, then donate it. Do not let it be associated with your son, because sister-in-law is using it as a touchstone for her illusions, or delusions I'd say. Shut that down, and quick. Do not leave her alone with your son in any capacity. She needs help, and until she gets it, it's up to OP to protect her kid however she can. Posted by user Throwaway AmiTheA 1212. Titled, Am I the a-hole for asking my sister to be wary of her attractive babysitter? Due to pandemic-related issues, I, 25 female, had to stay at my sister's house for 3 weeks. My sister, 35 female, works in an essential field and hence had to go to work every day while her husband mostly worked from home, but had to go to his office 2 to 3 times a week. Because their hours were so difficult to manage and work around, my sister hired a babysitter to look after their 6-year-old daughter. This babysitter, 24 female, stayed at their house in a guest room, and also did other things for the family. Take care of their dog, including taking her on walks, helping my niece with her schoolwork, occasionally taking care of their garden, etc. It's only when I went to their house to stay last month that I realized the true extent of their situation. The babysitter was extremely attractive, and she wore skimpy clothing. She seemed to be in competition with Tesla's short shorts. She literally wore camis or thin tank tops half the time, and cited Los Angeles weather as the reason why when I asked her about it. She also said, "This is how people in Los Angeles dress," and basically called me ignorant. I tried to warn my sister about this situation, about how she was leaving her husband at home with such a woman for extended periods of time. Anyone would be tempted. Her husband has been unfaithful to her in the past. All the more reason to be extra cautious, right? I also asked her what kind of example her babysitter was setting for her younger daughter. I think I might be the a-hole because my sister got so upset with me and literally blew up in my face. She said that she trusted her husband completely and that they had gone to therapy together and worked out their issues. Lol? She also said that I was so wrong for questioning their girl's character and for asking what kind of example her babysitter was setting. She basically called me sexist. She also accused me of lashing out because I was never considered popular or attractive in high school or college with boys, so I had become resentful. She has to be the a-hole for that, right? When I told my boyfriend about this, he joked, "I didn't know I was dating a misogynist." I think the only reason I wasn't kicked out of the house was because of last-minute intervention from my dad. He also seemed to take my sister's side, however. My relationship with my entire family now seems acrimonious. Am I the a-hole here? OP, if everyone in your family knows the ins and outs of your relationship with this person, and they're all not on your side, I think that's a pretty clear indication that you're the one in the wrong here, is it not? You have a problem with this babysitter for being attractive. You're trying to find a scapegoat for your actions, saying that the husband was adulterous and whatnot at one point in time. Maybe he is again, maybe he's not. You don't have any evidence for that, so you're saying that you're allowed to say whatever you want just because the husband has been unfaithful to her. So you know what? Screw this babysitter. I can say whatever I want because I don't agree with what she's wearing or her life choices. That kind of makes you a terrible person, OP. You are a misogynist for doing that, and you're the a-hole. First of all, can we please all stop reducing men to useless sex-crazed lumps with no control over their penises? Because I think that trend is getting old. That said, the way a woman dresses is her choice, period. You don't get to question her about it. Furthermore, your sister's marriage and trust issues with her husband are not any of your business either. Period. Preach. OP is being super disrespectful, not only to the babysitter, who did nothing wrong, even after OP actually asked her, a stranger, about her clothes, but to the husband as well. Nobody in a decent relationship would just automatically assume their husband is being unfaithful due to an attractive babysitter. OP, apologize to all parties. I'd also take what she said about your jealousy and projection seriously. You're the a-hole. The 1950s called, and they want their attitudes towards women's clothing back. Nah, they had shorts and camis in the 1950s. OP seems to have arrived in the 1910s, at least. Are you saying the kids have seen her ankles? Scandalous! You're the a-hole. You really do seem sexist. She's of questionable character because of how she dresses, and men can't be trusted around attractive women? Come on, OP. Also, if she's staying in your sister's house, do you just think she's blind and doesn't see this girl? Or is she too stupid to see the threat that you seem to? It's gotta be one or the other if you felt like you needed to warn her to be wary. Posted by user throwaway 008651007, titled, Am I the a-hole for yelling at my wife and stepdaughter? My 8-year-old son has muscular dystrophy. He was diagnosed at 5 years of age. My ex-wife and I noticed something was seriously wrong when he struggled with a delay in walking, difficulty rising from his seat, and bending and picking stuff up. The news was absolutely devastating. My ex-wife couldn't accept how everything we had planned for our son's future came crashing down. She thought I had more courage to deal with his illness, so she left, probably wanting to forget about us and start over. I got married to my wife a year ago. My stepdaughter is a very loud and picky kid. She's 12. She had laid her eyes on my son's room and wanted to take it. We've talked about it since she seems to be hating me and holding a grudge for this very reason. I told her no. Her room is upstairs. It's smaller, but I needed the bigger room to provide my son with space to move freely. Last week, she brought it up again and said she wanted to switch rooms because her friend said it was not cool and girly and she wanted space to put her girly stuff. I explained that my son doesn't have the ability to go up and down stairs with a wheelchair. My wife said that I should get one of those electric climbing wheelchairs. I told her yes, I might be considering this in the future, but I wasn't going to burden my son with the trouble of climbing up and down stairs before I get him a better wheelchair once I've saved up for it. My stepdaughter started crying. My wife sided with her and lashed out after I refused, saying her daughter's mental health matters and that I was being unfair with treating kids differently. I lost it. I started yelling at them both and telling them they were selfish for asking me this. My wife yelled back and said she wanted to take her daughter and go stay with her folks till I make this right and be fair to them. There doesn't seem to be too many redeeming qualities about these two, about any of the women in your life, OP, and for that, I'm going to go on to this next segment and say, you're better off without them. You're better off without all three of those women in your life if they are going to make life even harder for someone that was born with muscular dystrophy. That's not fair on him. It's not fair on you, just so that they can be a little more convenienced with a little more space in your house. Those two can go to hell for all I care. I wouldn't invite them back, I'd cut them off, and I'd find someone that is actually worthy of your time and will actually be patient with you and your son. None of this is your fault. You are doing the best you can as a father, and they throw all this on you. Simply unacceptable. There is a no 3 strikes when you're out policy. 1 strike, get out of my house. Not the a-hole. Your stepdaughter is a child and will hopefully grow up to realize how much of an a-hole she's being. Your wife is a full-grown adult and should know better. If she can't recognize why your son's needs far outweigh her daughter's needs for a bigger room, then consider throwing away the whole wife. My wife thinks I somehow see my stepdaughter as less, and would consider everything I do for my son playing favorites. She's very sensitive about this particularly, and can't seem to get those silly thoughts out of her head. If your wife thinks you taking care of your son's medical needs is playing favorites, then I hate to break it to you, but she's not worth the trouble. Your son has one of the most trying genetic conditions, and instead of supporting you and your stepson through what is undoubtedly a hard journey for you both, she is instead petty and jealous. Those thoughts aren't silly, they are toxic. Their lack of empathy for a little kid that is gradually losing his abilities is heartbreaking. Adapting a house is terribly expensive. Those wheelchair elevators may not fit OP's house, besides being horribly expensive. Giving him the bedroom where he can be independent without asking for help or house modifications should be a non-issue. It should be a given. I never saw anyone complaining about it, as the stepkid and her mum are doing, and I worked with kids with disabilities. For real, the daughter and stepmom are upset that she doesn't have a bigger room to make more girly, but lil dude is suffering from a lifelong disability for frick's sake. Like, a greatly reduced life too, if he is already in a wheelchair at 8. The lack of empathy from the stepmom and sister, not willing to let him be independent while he can, is unbelievable. Not the a-hole, of course, but why not offer to change your stepdaughter's room to something more girly if that's the problem? Regardless, wanting to make your son go up and down stairs with a wheelchair just because her room is smaller is ridiculous. But since your wife sided with her, I guess we know where this is coming from. I'm not sure if she'll be okay with this idea. I think it's more about the location and space, because my stepdaughter has tons of girly stuff in her room, but wanted a place to organize it. Sounds like maybe she has more stuff than she needs. Reminds me of an old acquaintance who also had way too much stuff and never learned humility or basic decency. Her mother also coddled her like crazy. Honestly, I think this is your wife's fault. And if she can't see that, there is no good solution to this. Good luck, I hope you can work it out. Maybe try the relationship advice sub? Okay, and I think that's where we're going to end today's episode, guys. As always, I do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something from these stories. Just want to say a quick shout out to my Patreon subscribers and my channel members. You guys should be on the screen right now. If you do see yourself, I want you to give yourself a little pat on the back for being amazing and supporting me on this channel, this little journey we're going on the YouTubes. I really appreciate it, and you guys enabled me to do all this amazing work. So if you do see yourself, I love your face and I'm happy to see you. Also guys, if you want to pitch in your own support, you don't have to, but channel links are down in the description below to support the Patreon, the channel membership, whatever you want to do. It's kind of like tipping me if you feel like I'm doing a good job on this channel. I will be opening up avenues for content on those in the future. Just right now I'm kind of bogged down and stuck in Ireland, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway guys, with that said, I do hope you have a wonderful day today. Whatever you're up to, I'd love to know down in the comments below. I do hope you have a good day, night, sleep. Whatever you're up to today, tell me, and I'll see you in the next episode, guys. Bye.